Hey, welcome back to the Loan Officer Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Kiles, and today you're in for a treat. Carl and I are going to talk about, drum roll please.
What we're going to talk about is, oh my gosh, everything's different, or is it?
Okay.
Or is it? Or
Everything's
is it?
different, or is it? That's okay. You piqued my curiosity. What are we going to talk about?
So a very dear friend of mine, friend of ours, actually it's a mutual friend, right?
Yeah.
And it's a super cool guy, right?
Yeah.
But he did this post and a smart guy, right? So he did this post and basically the post was, boy, we gotta change what we're doing because everything has changed. And I looked at that and I thought, well, wait a minute, Steve, our teams, yours and mine, right? I mean, together we're closing literally hundreds of loans a month. I mean, you started this branch that you're working in right now, that you're the leader of, you're the branch manager of. I don't know, what's it been, a couple of years, something like that?
2 years ago. Yeah.
2 years ago.
That's right, at 2 years ago.
And you're on the north side of $100 million.
112,542.
So 112,
392 loans the last 12 months.
Right. And keep in mind, these are not San Diego loans of $1 million.
The average
each.
loan amount's 254.
Yeah.
Somewhere
right.
there.
So a $112 million account.
Yep.
That you built in the last 2 months.
2 years.
Last 2 years. Yeah. And I see the production that collectively we had here in the last 30 days. And as we're recording this is the end of 2023. So I'm going to timestamp this.
Yep.
And I looked and I went, well, hadn't changed for us.
No.
Right. We're still closing literally hundreds of loans per month.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went, well, wait, what exactly has changed? So, Steve, I'm going to ask you a couple questions.
All right, let's do it.
Has the way that you bring new loans in changed?
No.
So how do you bring loans in?
So for us, it goes back to a relationship game. There's a couple of ways to do it. And what we find is the most effective is realtor relationships and past client database are probably the two biggest. And then you increase conversion by adding structure to your outbound sales calls. And Carl, when we talk about this, I hear so many people saying, but I don't want to make cold calls. And what's shocking is we don't make cold calls. We just make the right calls to the right people. And so predominantly it's agents and past clients and database.
I would say I'm sitting here thinking about this because we did zero prep for this.
Yeah.
We're just
we just jumped on it. Yep.
I don't know if we should brag about that, but it's the truth, right? So I just had this idea. I said, dude, let's record a podcast real quick.
Yeah.
So I tell you what's changed. A couple of years ago, you could be a clerk.
Oh yeah.
And close a decent amount of loans.
Yep.
That's not true today. Today, it's salespeople. Like,
hey, can I say one thing? When you're saying that, I was talking to our loan officers this last week. Carl, here's what it was. 2 years ago, we were doing the wrong activity. We were in our loan files. We were chasing conditions. We were doing non-sales activity, getting the sales coming in. And we thought, oh my gosh, the activity is working. What this has done is helped reveal that, no, that wasn't sales getting activity. That was busy work. And we got deals just because of the market. So now we've just got to do what we know works, which is outbound talk tos to qualified people and ask for the business. Hey, I'll give you an example. Sarah in my branch and on my team is remarkable. She's growing this great business. Hey, Carl, just in the last 2 weeks, and this is in December, we put a target on everybody on the team with her, which is her and 2 other people, to ask for the business. And they went from a handful of leads to literally tripling the lead count. Like today is Wednesday, and they've already got 16 leads in the first 2 days of this week. And the only thing that's really changed is a focus on the right agents and a focus for everybody to ask for the business. No additional cold calls, no weird calls, no tough stuff. Just, hey, listen, over the next 4 weeks, how intentional can we be every time to ask for the business and do what? Sales activity. We're already having hundreds of calls a day, and literally between a team of 3, you're talking about you can have 100 to 200 outbound calls because you're touching the lead, touching the partner. You're giving an agent an update. You're calling a borrower to follow up. You're calling the co-borrower to make sure that they're on the same page. You're following up after a loan consultation. And that's what's interesting is now we're doing sales activity and seeing results versus in the past, you didn't even have to do it. Somebody'd say, hey, I want that 2% rate, and you'd get it. Or they were at a 6% and you could refi them. And of course it made sense. So I think we thought we were doing the right activity, and come to find out it wasn't sales activity. It was busy work.
Yeah. Come to find out, many of us,
All of us
were the highest paid clerks on the planet. Right. Just being real here, just being real.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, and look, we're not looking to, we're not, I always struggle with this, but here's the bottom line. As you're listening to us today, we love you enough that we'll risk our relationship to tell you the truth.
That's it.
And so we could sit here and put our arms around you, and we do put our arms around you and say, hey, it's not your fault. It's the market's fault, and it's the market's reason. But see, if we do that, that doesn't help you. Because see, if we say it's not your fault, it's the market's fault.
Yeah.
Then the market has to change before you see success, and that doesn't help you. And so we have to get real here and say, hey, but I will say it isn't your fault, right? And it's not. We didn't know it. Steve, you and I didn't know it either.
Man,
we didn't know that we had shifted and started acting more like clerks and less like salespeople, right? Me and you both, we fell into it too, right?
Yep.
And so we have to actually do sales activities, which is reaching out to people. And again, I love you enough to risk our relationship, to tell you the truth. Those that don't pivot and go back to what always worked, and start making offers. Well, Carl, I don't like talking to people. That's okay.
Yeah.
Go do something else. Yeah. Right. And I'm not saying this.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this being snarky or anything. One of my best friends lives down the road here as a diesel mechanic. And so he's the same way. I mean, we enjoy talking to each other, right? But he doesn't like talking to large groups of people. So it's just him and his engine, and he's turning his wrenches, and he makes a good living, and he's awesome, right? He's an amazing guy. And whereas me, the idea of working on, I mean, I would be horrible at that. It's not my skill set. Yeah. Right. It's just not my skill set. So, that saying that's going around is so true. When the tide goes out, we find out who's swimming naked, and we cannot blame it on the market, because that means we have no hope of success, because it's not until the market changes that I'm going to have success. And that's not true. Yeah. Is that when we pivot and start doing sales activity, listen to this, even if we do it badly, even if we do it not good, if we do it, now we have to do the activity. We have to take action. Taking action, we have to be fantastic at. How we take that action, the actual process of it, what do I say, who do I talk to, it's important, but it's not critical. It's more important. Let me tell you something. You give me somebody that is here, you, Steve, dude, you're amazing. Like, you really are. You're a very humble guy, right? And we rib you and whatnot, but we both know that you're absolutely amazing. I think I know it more than you do. You're absolutely amazing at what you do. All right. So your scripting is phenomenal. Right? Your communication skills, just out of the park. But here's the thing. If we got somebody 10% as good as you, not even 80, not 90, 10% as good as you, and they took 3 times more action, that beat you. You 100%. Could not beat somebody that's doing 3 times more action, even though you're 90, 100, 200% better at it than them. If they do it more, they'll beat you. Right. And so it's just an issue of taking action right now. So something has changed. The requirement for us to act like salespeople, to actually do sales activity, and not blaming it on the market. It's not the market's fault. It's not your fault, right? We didn't know.
Yeah.
But now that you know, now if you don't take action, now you do own that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think telling everybody that, hey, everything has changed, I think hurts people because it makes it feel like they have no control of their success. And that's absolutely 100% not true.
I love it. Hey, and you know what, Carl? I love the fact that there's no barrier. This is the industry that has no ceiling and no barrier. If you've got a cell phone and you can get a qualified list of agents, and or you've had relationships or you got past clients, there's no barrier. You know, you add widgets. Of course, we all like the cool things to add to what we're doing, but it's not a barrier of entry. It's not like, hey, if you get this, then you can be successful. I wrote down when you were just talking about it, and I'm going to use this: more beats best. Whoever makes more offers beats the best person in the room, because offers minus no's equal money. And, you know, you're talking about, it's not your fault you didn't know, but now you do. And as you're doing the activity, there was a guy who's really big into building subscribers on social, and you and I are not a big, I mean, we utilize social media, but we recognize it's only 3% of the market. And I found it fascinating. And he's somebody who helped brands get to like millions of subscribers. And somebody asked him, Carl, they said, hey, how long does it typically take to get to 100 million subscribers on your YouTube or your channel? And he said, you know, I get that question a lot, but what we found out is it's not time, it's reps. He said, we find that it's typically at 1,000 videos that have been put out, you'll get to 100,000 subscribers. And Carl, when he said it, like I rarely see that kind of stuff. And it was just like an aha moment in our business. More beats best because it's not time, it's reps. And whoever's making the most calls and touching the most people is the one that's going to win. And, you know, and I appreciate the accolades, and I am, you know, what I'm known for, scripting and all that, but it's simply because I've made more calls than most people. And the calls in the beginning, they're terrible. And some of them are so bad you're laughing. It's like, Carl, this is not going really well.
Yeah.
Man, I'm sorry. Let me back up and listen, have a great day. And then you just get up, don't take yourself so serious, and you start making more calls and touches. And it really starts to begin to be a fun game. Like I've watched some of the loan officers in our branch. They're like, hey, I just got my 4th lead. I had my 15th talk to, and they're high-fiving. And when you realize that sales is a game, that's when it really starts to get good. But I agree. I don't think everything's different. You remember a couple of months ago on the Breakfast Club, somebody had been in the business like 30 years, like since the 80s. Actually, it'd be 40 years. And Carl, you remember what, I think you were on it, but they asked him, they said, what was the one way you got business back in the 80s? And you know what he said?
What's that?
The telephone. Isn't that funny? I was like, it hadn't changed. It's the phone.
But you know, something has changed actually. Who was it this morning on the Loan Officer Breakfast Club? Was that Garrick that was at one loan February?
Yeah, he did 0 in January, 1 in February.
Yeah. He started making his calls.
And right? He took time. Yeah.
Started doing the daily success plan. And this month, I think he said he had 9 in the pipeline.
And we had 2 that were wobbly. Yeah.
Let's say two fall out.
Yeah.
Roll over next month. So still 7. And again, using a hypothetical number of $3,000 per closing, some more, some less, but just a kind of an average number. That'd be 21 grand for the month. So this is a guy that went from $3,000 a month to 21 grand a month, same calendar year.
Well, in supposedly the worst market, and it is a tough market, but instead of going backwards and losing 50%.
So something has changed. He's gone from $3,000 a month to $21,000 a month.
That's right.
We're talking about an income. And again, we're using a hypothetical $3,000 per closing.
Yep.
But so yeah, something has happened to Garrick in his place. Going from 3,000 to 21,000 is a 700% increase.
Yep. Yeah.
But it wasn't the market that was responsible for his 700% increase. It was his activities.
That's right.
He took ownership of it. He didn't want to point fingers at anybody but himself. He stepped up the plate, made it happen. And we see these stories like it's not I mean, Garrick's an awesome guy. It's not a unique story. We see these stories often.
Yeah. Hey, and
So
if you're listening today and you say, you know what, I want to hear or see the plan, I'd love to see what it is you're talking about and how I can have the same results. Go to freedomplanningcall.com, freedomplanningcall.com. Carl, myself, Kristen, one of us on the team, we'd love to walk you through what a daily success plan is, but also what are the activity, what's the activity that literally can help you have your best month ever, because it's what will help you get proven results, because we know these activities work. freedomplanningcall.com. We'd love to help them, Carl. Man, we're seeing our loan officers have their best months ever. And it's because, you know what? The market's tough, but we know what to do and we know how to get big results by asking for the business and being real salespeople. And that's what I love. No ceiling. You're rewarded by how you show up. And this is the season to show up. Yourself in January, February, and March of this next year are going to thank you for it.
yeah, and that's the bottom line is the activities you do today is gonna put you to where you're gonna be 90 days from today.
That's right. That's
Where
right.
do you want that to be? Where do you want
That's
that
it.
to be?
Yep.
And Steve and I would love to be your Sherpa. You know what a Sherpa is, Steve?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, Sherpa's that guy that
They're the ones that like no oxygen mask. They're carrying 4 backpacks all the way up
climbing Mount Everest.
Yeah.
And the guys in the background are all high-fiving themselves and doing selfies and whatnot. And the Sherpa's got like 4 of their packs on his back, and he's just going, because dude, he's been up that mountain countless times.
Yeah.
And we've been up this mountain countless times, and would love to be your Sherpa. So freedomplanningcall.com.
That's it.
Did I
Hey,
do
and
that
just
right?
remember this: we're for you. We're cheering you on. You've got what it takes. Take massive action, and you'll see big success. Anything we're doing is worth doing badly. Just get started. See ya.